Charleston White. Oh man, appreciate you coming by to the station.
Oh man, I appreciate you for having Unc over here, man. Yeah, I done rebranded the name Unc. So yeah, I'm the coolest Unc on earth right now.
Hey, the coolest. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. I roll with it. I roll with it. And yo, I'm real glad that you pull it up because my thing is this, man. I think a lot of people have a misconception about what you about, bro.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
And I'm gonna start with first off, your non-for-profit, Hype, helping young people excel, right? Yeah. And you mentioned before that people wasn't listening to what your message was when you was trying to deliver it. You feel me, with the bow tie and the suit vibes.
Yeah.
And you had to turn trill on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The gold, got to get fly. So just tell folk about, you know, your Hype non-for-profit.
So Hype actually started in 2011. We became fully established as a nonprofit organization by way of 501c3 tax exemption status in 2012. Actually, my childhood friend Anthony Dewberry actually came up with the name Hyped about Hype. And so Hype is an acronym for helping young people excel. So we spent 3 years as a nonprofit entity. And then I was once given a book by the Annie Casey Foundation's executive director, a guy by the name of Bart LeBeau at the time. He gave me a book that was entitled that the revolution will not be funded. And so it breaks down the whole nonprofit industrial complex and the who, what, why nonprofits were created. And nonprofit was actually created after the civil rights movement to hinder and control social movements. So once I got that knowledge and information, I relinquished my tax exempt status as a 501c3 and just became a straight neighborhood youth outreach, where I self-sustained the organization by selling barbecues, selling t-shirts, selling hats. So I didn't want to beg and have to do the fundraising and all of that. So Hype started in 2012. We existed during the drill era, right? Yeah. So while I was doing youth outreach and youth advocacy, there was a new culture, a new subculture that was being created in America, which was drill music that I had no idea existed until 5 or 6 years working with the young children in the juvenile system. And one of the tools that I use to connect with children and to build rapport is asking them who is their favorite rapper. And then I go back and I research the rapper and then listen to the lyrics, and then that gives me a talking point or a base to start with building a bond with these kids.
Right, yeah, and yo, I appreciate you bringing that up because I always say when it comes to young people, they gotta hear it in a language that they understand or from a person they can relate to. Yeah. Matter of fact, just even the acronym Hype. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people who do good and their heart's in the right place, but the message doesn't get across. Yeah. So
and that's the problem I had because even though I had gold teeth at the time, I've always had gold teeth. That's a Southern tradition. But when my shirt tail was tucked in, I had the sweater vest on with the bow tie. You know, the cocksucker hats that they wear, the old brim hats. Right. And so they wasn't connecting with the look. Even though I'm talking the talk, but they need to connect with what they see daily. And so Eddie Murphy dropped the movie Dolomite by way of Netflix. In that movie, a light came on because I grew up believing Dolomite was a real character. I didn't know. I thought he was a real man. I didn't know
Shaq was a real person.
Me too. Yep. You see what I'm saying? So a light came on, and so that's when I began to evolve from. You know, I started growing my dreads. I started, you know, looking that rough look. And so I created a persona, and part of this persona was also therapeutic for me, for therapy, right? Yeah. Because I was becoming frustrated as a community activist. I was becoming angry at the conditions and the lack of care and concern that I saw in the neighborhood from the OGs, the street guys. Yeah. And so I came to social media to vent my frustration. Even though at times I was angry, at times I appeared hateful. But when I end those videos, my prayer would be, God, don't let my heart be hardened toward my own people, let alone hate anyone. Right. So the persona was my outlet, right? As well as it began to bring awareness because I was saying some outlandish things to a population of people that you normally don't say this to, the gangbangers. Mm-hmm. And so it brought more awareness to what I was doing in the community. And ultimately, it started helping me get more things done in the community working with the youth. And one day I went viral. And from that day, from going viral, I got pushed into this internet spotlight that we call an internet sensation, a viral sensation. And I didn't want to get stuck there because I knew being stuck there could possibly hurt the work that I do in the community. So I had to evolve. So I started paying attention to the word content creation. I started paying attention and trying to understand algorithm. marketing, branding, and I started listening to what we would call your demographics, your constituents. And people started saying, you need to do comedy. At the time, I was so serious, what I was saying, I didn't find funny. But as I began to watch the videos and engage the algorithm, engage the comment section, I started realizing that I really can develop something from this. And that's how I got on stage to do comedy.
Yeah, and I've always said that, comedians are some of the most intelligent people, because to be funny means that you know how to prepare for like those intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like them things that most people won't say, you know how to talk to that.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of brothers and sisters realizing, hey, we don't all got to say the same information the same way.
No.
Right? It could be an OnlyFans person. It could be somebody who, clean toilets for a living. If they got something to say that benefits the culture, benefits another brother or sister, they should go about doing it.
The homeless person under the bridge got great advice for you not to end up there.
Yeah.
The drunk in front of the store, he has great advice for you not to end up and fill his shoes. So, I didn't want to change the community. I became the change that I wanted to see.
Yes. Yes.
That was it. I became the change that I wanted to see. And from there, it gave me a moral compass to guide the character.
Right.
Right? And so, most people don't know I went to college. I went to the university level. Right. And so, in college, you take electives. You take classes that you really don't need. So I took acting. I took drama. And in those classes, you learn different things. You learn about satire, comedy. So when I studied comedy, I put me in the category of an Andrew Dice Clay, a Mal Mabel, Richard Pryor, Red Fox, that dark humor comedy. So if you start looking at the genres and the titles on YouTube, they have an area for dark humor, dark comedy. That's the funny comedy that I bring, even though it seems outlandish and offensive.
Right, and and that's even because I saw you've been doing a couple of videos. I saw like the 20v1 type videos. Yo,
that's my favorite. They're my favorite interviews.
Bro, and you keep it a bug. He's like, nah, your booty too big. I ain't gonna be able to hold all of that.
Yeah.
So, but now that you mention it, it makes me think the 20v1s is also a good way for you to connect with that group and demographic. Because if you're talking to them directly in the whole, well, what do you find it interesting in a dude?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you already know the game. It's like, nah, sweetheart, your teeth too white. You got veneers. You're trying too hard to get somebody's attention. Yeah. So is that been like your approach with a lot of the content that you create? Is like just learning the audience that you want to talk to?
Well, you have the truth. You have brutal truth, and then you have the ugly truth. Yeah, I go past truth. I come with that ugly truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I come with that ugly truth that when I walk into a school, I find three young black boys, and I go 1, 2, 3. One of y'all going to prison, and I wait, I wait to see the response of everybody, and I watch people cringe. I watch the teachers frown at me and don't want to invite me to come back. But this is not something that Charleston is saying. These are American statistics.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is that for young black boys and girls, they often have to grow up sooner than most people. And it's a double-edged sword, because do you want to have them maintain their innocence as kids, or do you want to make sure they get home okay?
Yeah. And so I use truth as my punchline. So I'm learning to tell jokes, but I tell stories that has a lot of truth in it, and those truth points become punchlines, right? For instance, last night I talk about the work boyfriend. Every woman got a work boyfriend. The guy that come to work every day dressed up because he has to meet the dress code at work. He smells good every day, looks good. They got a great relationship. They've been friends at work. They end up becoming work boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah. Probably never sleep with one another, but mentally, psychologically, they become bonded at work, outside your home. So that's a truth that most guys won't admit to. That's a truth that most people don't adhere to. And I go on stage and tell the truth, because Paul Mooney once said the greatest joke ever told was told as a truth, and the greatest truth ever told was told as a joke.
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things you can ever do for somebody is to say something that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's not because you say it to be offensive. You say it because, man, throughout the day, how many times is the person going to hear they pretty?
Yeah.
Right? But how many times are you going to hear, hey, you might be pretty, but
you can't cook.
You can't cook.
Yeah.
Like, ain't nobody, like, when you're 90 years old, your looks ain't going to feed me type of joint. And some people may not want to hear it, but if they hear it once, at least it starts a thought process.
In the speech class, so I took introduction to speech at the community college level, and I took the professional speech class. In both of those classes, it teaches you how to use shock and awe in the opening of any speaking that you're doing, or even if you're writing a paper. So most people will use statistics, the 1 in 3 statistics. That'll awe you. So I've done training for the Department of Homeland Security, Human Trafficking Division, and one of my opening statements is, how many of you people believe or know that 90 to 95% of men alive have been with a prostitute?
Yeah.
I watch the police officer cringe when I say that. And then I say mainly men in uniform, because you get a free pass as a law enforcement agency or as a military guy at the Bunny Ranch in Vegas.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny you say that, because something I tell folks, and it trips them out. Arizona, as a state, is only 5 to 6% black.
Wow. That's a shocking 5
to 6% black.
That's a shocking stat.
I share that with you because, like, I'm from New York, born and raised. My family's from Haiti. I tell most people who are familiar with Haitian culture,
very familiar.
We love black folk. Right?
Very familiar with the culture.
Right?
Yeah, y'all are entrenched in culture.
Thank you. And so since I'm out here, anytime I see a brother or sister, I'm happy. Hey, what's up, sis? What's up, bro? And there's some apprehension with black folk out here because there's some who are from here that ain't used to that exposure. Yeah. But I bring that up because some people say, yo, why are you always so hyped to see brothers? Dog, ain't about 5 or 6 of us out here.
It kept me alive in L.A. So I lived off of Imperial in Vermont in 2016, 17. I lived out in L.A. I was working at Diamonddale Adolescent Group Home Facility. It was my dream job. And so sometimes I would have to Uber to work, and then I would just walk the streets just to get familiar with the territories. I diffused a lot of brothers. I diffused a lot of gangbangers by saying, hey, how you doing, brother? Hey, what's up, black man? Hey, how you doing, sister? At first, they wouldn't receive it, but the consistency of me speaking with a smile on my face, going out my way to say, hey, look out, brother. Hey, what's going on, sister? It kept me alive in many places.
Yeah, and also, a lot of the times, you're probably the first brother that led with love.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, I mean, some people might react in a crazy kind of way. Obviously, you got to handle your business.
Yeah.
But I'm the kind of person where I do the same thing. I'm like, hey, if you don't want to roll with me because I'm saying what's up to you or trying to acknowledge you, I ain't even tripping. But understand, ain't that many other people out here going to acknowledge you.
There's a shame I feel when I don't do it.
Yeah.
There's secretly a shame that I feel if I walk past another brother and don't speak. Because I feel the same shame if I walk by a white person and look them in the eyes and don't give them a nod.
Yeah.
It's human interaction, homie.
Yeah, we need human interaction.
We desire to have it.
We're designed to have it, and it's like, I think also in the black community, a lot of us have this mentality of, all by myself, no new friends and all of that.
If you ain't from where I'm from, I don't know you, I don't like you,
And I can say this, man, one of my favorite sayings, if you want to go quick, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's an African proverb. You feel me? So I live with that because what happens is when I meet certain people who stay in my circle for a long time, because they already identify with that same mentality. Yeah. I got to be together with somebody. You can't be together with everybody. But leading with that love, you never know who's going to be in your circle that's going to help benefit you or just the culture as a whole.
So I'm glad he said that, because that's what I preach, right? I love black people. But I'm looking to connect with my kind, right? So what do you mean by that, Charleston? Red birds and blue birds don't fly together, but they're both birds. How do you identify your kind? By their actions. By their actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you love on your people, but seek to be with your kind. And your kind don't have a color.
Yeah, and speaking of color too, I remember I saw somewhere online, you mentioned that you've written articles, right? That you have also worked in like local government just throughout Texas. Can you kind of expand on that?
Oh man, I spent many years not just doing youth advocacy, but going to legislation, trying to get juvenile laws passed, abolished. One of it in particular was the raise the age legislation, where we were trying to get 17-year-olds jurisdiction raised to 18, where 17-year-olds no longer go to the county jail. They still remain in the juvenile system so they can be treated like juveniles. I worked and partnered with over 50 U.S. congressional members, along with some lobbyist organizations. Campaign Fair Sentencing for Youth. I was also a part of ICANN, which is a national organization called Incarcerated Children's Advocacy Network. And so we worked on laws and legislations. One in particular was the Juvenile Life Without Parole. They call it JLWOP.
Right.
And so myself, along with 4 other individuals,